In this video, we want to take a few minutes to talk about the true power of sexual energy. Now, I need you to understand, this goes beyond anything that anybody normally teaches and any society has been teaching over the recent 8,000 years. Only in small sects, only in small portions have this information been brought out to the general public, but most of the time, it's a behind the scenes thing. Most of the time, our culture does not allow for us to have this mindset. So today, I want to take a few minutes to get you into the right mindset of the true power of your sexual energy. And before that, I want you to take a look at this, and then we will continue on this journey. So what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and I want to thank everybody for being here. If you're finding me for the first time, we talk about the full 360 degrees of the person, the mind, the body, the spirit. We talk about different spiritual things of how you break down things that we have been taught in today's world and break it down to its pure essence of understanding creation, the creator, and who you are in your divineness. We also look at finances. We talk about finance, how to build wealth and how to create generational wealth so that we are living in this physical world, but we're able to manifest what it is that we truly desire and want. And of course, we talk about love and relationships, that spiritual pact that you need between you and someone else that keeps you in the mindset and in the ability of your divine order. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Please subscribe to the channel, like us on Facebook. Go ahead and join me as a Patreon and join us every Tuesday for our live chats. We talk about different things. Our Patreon get first dibs at subject matters. Plus, we're doing a personal study on Patreon of the Tao Te Ching. Now, the power of sex, the true power of sex. Now, in our world today, this is looked upon as lust. There's a separation between lust and love. And sex has parts to play in both sides of it. Unfortunately, for most men especially, but for most of us, love and sex are not synonymous. They're not connected. We don't understand the divine connection that the two may have with one another. So instead, we separate them, not fully understanding that the entire piece of the pie, the entire puzzle, needs every aspect of the mind, the body, and the spirit. It needs the intimacy of the mind, the intimacy of the spirit, and the intimacy of the physical. Without all three working in concert with each other under the right perception, you find yourself at a loss. You may be spiritually having intimacy with someone, but because you're having physical lust, there's a break, there's a divide, there's a problem. There's dams being built up and then floods occurs. There's terrible storms that come through and burn everything down or tear everything down. So we have to come to a mindset where the body, the mind, and the spirit are all working in unison with one another to project love in its proper format. Let's go back in time. In time, and even in today, there are those who understand the true power of sex. There are those who take it and they use it as a disruptive force, and they use it as a power over other people. Throughout history, women have been used and abused in the world of sex. Women have been put down. If a woman was expressing her sexuality during the Dark Ages and during those inquisitions, then she was called a witch, when all she was doing was finding her divine feminine and utilizing that power to manifest greater things in life. But because of religious dogma, she was a witch. There were time frames where men, black men, enslaved men, oppressed men, who are considered to be nothing more than a stud, to use their sexual energy, their sexual power to continue to create financial gain for another group or another person. And then those things overflowed into conquest and domination over a people. Unfortunately, we see the most vile form of it in rape, whether it's the raping of a woman or the raping of a man by another man, or even at times by a woman. These things happen, these occur, the most vile aspects of it, utilized in a way to create power over people. We've seen this and we continue to see this, but the only way we change it, one of the way we change it, is to change our perception and change our knowledge base of it. We can look in Tantra and we see that at one point Tantra was taught in a way that uplifted the people. Even the Romans, for a split second of a moment, knew that the sexual pleasures of the woman was the thing that was needed to build a society for a split second. Then it went into the male dominant patriarchal idea of a woman's pleasure is only good for her being able to birth out a son. It was literally believed that if a woman has an orgasm, she will birth out a son during intercourse. It's not even close. It still doesn't even touch the fabric of love. The part that we're missing is touching that fabric of love. Now, of course, when we look at some of the ancient teachings, they talk about how there must be a priest and a priestess. They talk about how they must go into the holiest of holies, and that is where the Immaculate Conception is taught, how to have sex metaphysically in order to have the pure birth. We know that in the ancient world of Kemet, the priest and the priestess taught how to use the unking of your sexual energy to draw nearer to one another, to draw closer to one another, to allow that energy, as the orgasmic energy surges up to the heart, to unk it out of your back and around your mate and into the heart of both you and your mate, creating a connection, creating an energetic recharging connection between the two of you. It is that recharging, not the taking away of your life force, but the recharging of your life force that the Ankh also represents. So those things have been lost to the general public, to the minds of man. It has been lost to every culture. It is only known in some hierarchies and in some secret societies that these things are known. But even in those, they have sexual rituals. But most of the time, these sexual rituals are not to open up the enlightenment of a person, but to utilize that sexual power to gain dominance over a multitude of people or even over themselves. When in ancient times, through the teachings of Akhenaten and Pythagoras and Buddha, and Siddhartha, and the teachings of Lao Tzu, that through these teachings and the teachings you find in other cultures, it was in order to have a physical, spiritual, mental awakening, you had to have a sexual awakening. But that sexual awakening was that of love, of connecting energetically to couples, to another person, to being able to come into the point of absolute love with them. And let's talk about this on the pie chart, if you will. On the pie chart of love, many people will agree with me that if I am communicative to you, if we speak and we talk all the time, we have great understanding, great communication, that if I understand where you are, your mentality, how you function, how you move, then we are having a mental and verbal vibrational connection with each other where we are having love. Couples, as they get older, they say, have that companionship love, that person they can walk with, talk to, that person that they have those kinds of connection with. They know the words before they come out of your mouth. They know what you're thinking and what you need before you think it or before you need it. They instantly from afar know to bring you this or bring you that because they have that mental connection. And all of us are saying that's love. But that's only one piece of the pie. Another third of the pie is that intimate connection through walking with each other, lying on each other, talking to each other, dancing with one another. That intimacy that has touch, but it also has a connective energy of being with each other in non-sexual ways. Even though, according to Freud, those are still sexual encounters, but it's that connection of being with one another, supporting one another in their dreams and their goals, helping one another when they're sick and they're ailing, being there for them physically, being able to comfort them, that we find that kind of love. And that's another piece of the pie. And many people, especially women, and here's the thing, I meant to say this earlier, there's a huge divide between the men and the women in this conversation. Women generally love those two and stick with those two pieces of the pie. And it is that third piece that men seem to zone in on. But that third piece, men zone in on, and then they may see the others. If you saw the video I did, and I'll link it up here at the end, of A Way to a Man's Heart, you'll understand that part more clearly if you go back and when you go back and watch that video. But the other piece is the sexual piece. It's the intimacy, the physical sexual piece. A man entering the womb of a woman is like two pieces of the puzzle. You know, the round hole and the square and the round peg meeting one another, connecting perfectly designed. When a man enters the womb of a woman, into the vaginal tract, then he's depositing, he's giving, he's providing instruction and love and protection in that format, and the woman is accepting of and she's nurturing it, she's taking care of it and embracing it. So depending upon the mood, the mind, the motive of the person, they're either giving to you or they're taking away. They're either blessing you or they're cursing you. And in that mode, most people just see it for the lust, the point of pleasure. Should you derive pleasure from it? Of course you should. But is that pleasure the only thing? Are you connecting? It is the difference in when you are with someone, let's say you're in a missionary. It is a difference between just going, but going in. And the difference of looking into each other's eyes, speaking positive affirmations of love and respect and honor to one another, kissing and touching and rubbing with each other during that process. When that is going on, then you're connecting. You're both present. When that's not going on, it's very easy for one person or both persons to not truly be present in the energetic exchange, but only be present in the lustful feeling, the lustful pleasures of it. And not that you can't have the pleasures of it, but the pleasures of it cease becoming lustful. You see, having all three pieces of the pie gives you a completeness of love. When you make love to someone to please them, but not only please them, but to connect with them, then you are doing it more energetically, more tantrically. When you do this, you are reaffirming your commitment. Even the wisdom of the Bible says that the body of the woman is not her own, but the man. And the man's body is not his own, but the woman. And that they should not deny each other except for an agreed upon time of prayer and fasting. But don't let that be too long, or otherwise demons, devils come into play. They will intercede. In the same way, if your motive is wrong when a man enters a woman, if he have the wrong motive, the wrong emotions, the bad heart, then he's bringing demons and devils inside of her. He's bringing negative charged energies inside of her. When I say demons and devils, all I mean is negative charged energies. He's bringing those negative charged energies inside of her. If she has that, then she's giving that to him. She's possessing him with those same spirits. So it is not only through that method, but also in the method of having separation, not reaffirming that emotional, that energetic commitment with each other over and over again. Every version of every piece of wisdom, of every book, of every culture teaches that when a union is created, that they must continue to replenish that union as often as possible. But one of the disconnect is men in general will tend to take that as just a pure pleasure and lust point and not understand the emotional, the connective energy, the sharing of energy towards one another, and the magic that happens when those two people come together and join in that kind of a process to be able to truly develop that love connection. And that's what we're missing. We're missing that understanding. We're missing how to get there. We're missing how to open our chakras so that our heart chakra makes that 90-degree turn and allows for our spirit man and our spirit woman to be able to work with all 7 chakras, to work without fear, without shame, without guilt, without the loss of love or feeling disconnected with one another, without the falsehood of who we think that we are, and without holding on to the earthly attachments that says that this is what you're supposed to do and that's what you're supposed to do, and a wife is supposed to be like this and a husband is supposed to be like that, instead of saying we just are. We allow our love to flow instead of trying to dictate our love. We allow our love to bloom and blossom and develop instead of trying to force that love to happen. But the only way we can get there is to understand all 3 pieces. Understand the mental, the spiritual, and the physical. But too often we leave out the physical. Too often we allow our cultures of today, our modern times, to dictate the pornographic, lustful aspect of it and not realize the life-giving blessings of it. And when we start to do that, that's when our greatness truly shines out. These are things that are being written in my book, How to Find Your Divine Soulmate. I hope you guys are on pins and needles and waiting for it, because I believe it's going to be a great book. I'm in the writings of the final chapters right now, so I look forward to it when that book actually comes out. But I want to thank you guys for being here. I just want to take a few moments to give you guys that, because understand, you'll know when someone is not looking at the sexual act as just as a lustful thing, is when they can tell you, and they are telling you truthfully, that when they go a period of time without that connection, it is not a blue ball ache, but it is a heartache that they have. It is a mental ache that they have. When all three are aching, see, if it's just the lower chakras aching, it's all physical and lust. But when the heart aches, they're missing that emotional connection. When the mind aches, they're missing that mental, spiritual connection. So it is when all three ache that they are missing the full love connection, right? So when you have that, it's just like when your mate goes away for weeks or months or years at a time, you have a heartache. You're missing that emotional connection. You have a mental ache when you don't talk to them. You can't talk to them for months at a time, and they spirited your mind. They increased your mind. They made you desire to just talk to them, be with them, gain from them, give to them. But your brain aches, your head space aches, because you're missing that spiritual, mental connection with them. So when you're missing all three, that's when you know that you have the full pie of love for that person, and then you desire to have it. Not wanting is lustful and is always lacking, but have a desire for it. And that's where I hope that you guys are moving toward. But we have to gain a true perspective of what real love is, because too many times love is always sacrificing. Love is always diminishing yourself. Love is always settling, is all the messages that we receive most of the time. Things do change in life. So forget about the happiness of the man, or forget about the happiness of the woman. Settle for the change of the man. Settle for the change of the woman. And then just be there emotionally, be there mentally. But who cares about your physical? Allow the physical to die out and wither. But the physical doesn't have to die out and wither. Can it change? Does it change? Yes, it can. But even in that, we must find that common ground where love can still be expressed through physicality, so that you have all three. At the only time you don't need all three is when you're dead. So until you die, you are in need of all three in order to have it. I know so many older couples who don't have the physical connection anymore. So what they're in a state of companionship. They're in a state of I'm used to you. They're in a state of I know what I got. They're in a state of we've been together so long and I'm putting up and settling for you. Which is one of the reasons why one of the highest divorce rate is in people over the age of 50. Because they're no longer starting to settle. And women don't have to settle and go with that. So saying that old age allows you an escape is an excuse, and you're escaping from just truly coming into a true knowledge and understanding of fullness of love between two people coming together. So there's no time frame that it ends. It may change, it may look different, but there's no time that the physical, the mental, and the spiritual ends. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. And watch these other videos, and please subscribe to the channel and follow us in every other platform.